Welcome to the program once again. Just to mention, our Twitter handle is at KTN News. Do let us know what is happening around you. We'd also appreciate your feedback. I want to begin by crossing over to Tanzania, where we have been keeping up to date with the Tanzanian elections, and they are currently going on with the vote count. And KTN's journal Namu joins us for the very latest updates. Namu, what's the latest, and how many stations have they counted so far?
61 stations have been counted so far, Ian. With respect to the rest of the election, about 203 constituencies left in this election. 23% of the total amount of constituencies that are in this, that were a part of this election, 264 in total. Now, with that, John Magufuli, from the 34 constituencies that were read earlier on, John Magufuli has about 768,018. And Edward Lowassa has 512 and 169, beg your pardon. I'll just go through some of the ones that we were able to record here from the 34. For instance, in South Pemba, the constituency is Chonga. John Magufuli had 1,740 and Edward Lowassa had 3,800. This is indicative of what's been happening over the past one day with the results that have been coming in. In the smaller constituencies like Pemba, Edward Lowassa seeming to carry the day there. But in the larger constituencies, for instance here from Mbeya district constituency like Ileje, John Magufuli has 26,368, to Edward Lowassa's 15,651. That's been by and large the trend in those constituencies and in those districts. Still a bit of a lead, building up a bit of a lead. 23% is not anything to shake a stick at with respect to an election. It could be a decider in this, but remember, it's not a 50+1 system here in Tanzania. It is a first past the post system where the person with the most absolute majority of votes wins that election. So far, that person seems to be John Magufuli, but it is early days yet, Ian.
The results are coming in quite slow. By when should we expect that they will announce the winner?
Well, according to the National Elections Commission here, they have about 3 days within which they will announce these results. So counting yesterday, they've got about 24 to 48 hours left before that 3-day period expires. But of course, they'll probably extend that over to Thursday if the results of different constituencies do not come in time. Remember, there were places that hadn't finished voting as at yesterday, but those were few and far between here in Tanzania. So we're hoping that by Wednesday evening this counting process and this announcement will have concluded, and we'll know for certain who the president of Tanzania will be at that stage. Hopefully after that, immediately after that announcement by the National Elections Commission is made, either John Magufuli or Edward Lowassa will be sworn in as the next president of Tanzania. So we're hoping that at least by Thursday that swearing in takes place.
And Namo, yesterday we had Edward Lowassa and his team just raising a few concerns about instances of rigging and all. Given how the election and how the law is there, what happens should they want to contest this particular election if their claims are indeed true that some instances of rigging have been happening, and given that the National Elections Commission said whoever they will announce will be final?
Well, yes, constitutionally, you just said it. Whoever the National Elections Commission announces as the winner is the winner and will stand as president. And this being forming part of the controversy of that constitutional review process that was abandoned in April this year in Tanzania. Those were some of the proposals that had been fronted in terms of being able to give opposition candidates leeway to come and challenge these kinds of results. These are things that are showing up now in the election observer preliminary reports that are being announced, a slew of them being announced today. The AU, SADC, East African Community, as well as there were 2 SADC commissions, I beg your pardon. In fact, I spoke to Yusuf Nzibo, an IEBC commissioner, who is part of the East African Community Observer Missions, and they gave me their preliminary reports and their preliminary findings. One of those recommendations, some of the recommendations, speaks exactly to your question about challenging results and the structuring of the NEC as well as the Zanzibari Electoral Commission, which are right now not independent. The president appoints members of the National Elections Commission currently under this current constitution. So for instance, the recommendation to the NEC and to the ZEC was to develop long-term capacity building strategies for the electoral administration personnel in order to promote effective and sustainable election management, meaning that they should be independent. Undertaking measures to improve accuracy of voters' registers, reviewing operational planning and logistics for elections, and undertaking measures to improve the conduct and monitoring of voter education. Voter education was something that Yusuf Nzibo spoke specifically to. But to your question, Ian, that is one of the areas in which the constitution needs to be reformed, and Yusuf Nzibo said that they are going to be making this recommendation again to Tanzania to go back, to return to the question of constitutional reform, especially for the question of elections.
Now, we've been unable to reach our team in Zanzibar. There are earlier reports indicating that there are some chaos cited within the towns there. Have you heard anything about this?
Well, as at about an hour ago, the Zanzibari Electoral Commission was supposed to be announcing the winner of that election, the presidential election there in that semi-autonomous region of Tanzania, and there was quite a bit of tension there. I had spoken to Mohammed Ali, our correspondent there, who has been following what's been happening in Zanzibar, and he told me that there was a build-up of police, paramilitary police, as well as the military there around the tallying center where the Zanzibari Elections Commission was about to announce its results. He also told me about the tension that had fomented in various parts of Zanzibar because of the manner in which the election seems to have been handled, but more so from Maalim Seif's allegation that he had won that election. Maalim Seif is from the CUF, which is one of the parties under the Okawa coalition, that said that he had won the election by 52% of the vote there, and asking, rather demanding, that the Zanzibari Elections Commission declare him president, that making it into the news nationally as well. So we're still waiting to hear what exactly is going on now, especially after that announcement. Will the election have gone his way? If it doesn't, perhaps there might be something to look into there, Ian.
And Namo, finally, before I let you go, you've covered elections now both in Kenya and Tanzania. Are there perhaps some lessons we can draw from Tanzania's election?
Well, I think a lot of the people that have been making comments about these elections from Kenya and from Uganda, some of the people who've been observing it, is the political culture that Tanzanians have here. A lot of the campaigns were focused on specific issues that Tanzanians have problems with or challenges with, and that's something that a lot of people who've been observing, they say, needs to carry over into Kenya, into Uganda, where issues become the basis for political campaigns and not personality politics, as is the case by and large in Kenya as well as by and large in Uganda. Those are some of the issues about the overall political culture in Tanzania. Seems to have been able to mature over time, perhaps because CCM has held on to power for such a long time, and after the passing of laws that allowed for multi-party democracy here, that seems to have carried over. But there also are learning points that Tanzania can learn from Kenya, from other parts of Africa. One, of course, is the fact that their independent electoral and the Elections Commission, beg your pardon, is not independent. It's still appointed by and large by the president. Its members are appointed by the president. This was a situation that we had in 2007 before passing of the new constitution. So either way, there are learning points, but by and large, the political culture is something that people have spoken about. One other thing that Yusuf Nzibo spoke about was the posting of the voters register at various polling stations 3 days before the election takes place. That's something that doesn't happen in Kenya and would serve to ease tensions and clarify issues on election day, because people can go and check on their names before the election actually commences and be able to clarify any issues that they have, whether their names are missing from the voters' roll prior to that election taking place. So there are some logistical things that and some learning points that Kenya can borrow from Tanzania and Zanzibar here in these elections.
Thank you very much, John Alanamu, for that particular update. Remember, we are covering the Tanzania elections, which are currently happening, which results are currently being compiled right now by the National Elections Commission. Our teams are there, and then we shall keep you updated on this particular story. As of right now, at least 61 stations have submitted their results, and so far, CCM's John Magufuli has taken an early lead. We shall keep you posted on that particular story. Now, coming back to Kenya, Deputy President William Ruto has now filed a motion of no case to answer before judges at the International Criminal Court. Ruto's defense team, led by lead counsel Karim Khan, in its application cites 5 reasons why the Hague-based should acquit Deputy President, who is facing crimes against humanity charges following the 2007 election violence. Ruto's defense in its submission cites no evidence of a network. The organization dubbed the network by prosecutor the keystone of the case. The defense argues the prosecution not only failed to produce evidence of an organization dubbed the network, it also failed to prove the creation of existence or operation of an organization that the prosecution had described as a criminal organization in the style of a mafia. In the submission, Karim Khan also outlines the terms as overwhelmingly hearsay content of prosecution case, arguing that the prosecution's reliance on hearsay demonstrates a case that has completely broken down. Now, moving on, Nairobi Court has directed that an application filed by ODM Nairobi Chair George Alado challenging his arrest and intended prosecution will be heard on the 30th of November. High Court Judge Justice Joseph Onguto has allowed both the prosecution led by the Senior Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions Nicodemus Maingi and the defense 14 days to carry out investigations and consolidate a petition before the court. During that time, Alado will be expected to make appearances in court when required to do so. Alado, who is a former mayor of Nairobi, was arrested on Friday of allegations of incitement and hate speech remarks that he made during a rally in Kibra constituency during Mashujaa Day celebrations.
Petitioner undertakes not to interfere with the investigations and or witnesses, and to appear before the police or investigators and or the chief magistrate when so summoned.
We shall present ourselves before the police. That is, the petitioner, Mr. Aladwa, will go to the police whenever they require him. He will also come to court when summoned to come and take plea, if at all, whether before or after the 30th. The matter will be mentioned on 30th of November for purposes of confirming that we have complied with the directions given today.
And the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has stated that the report they released yesterday on the National Youth Service was not an investigative report. Rather, it was a systems audit that had been requested for by the Ministry of Devolution. The report revealed loopholes in procurement processes at the National Youth Service.
Even before the current noise about the goings on at the NOS, the Ministry of Devolution, the CS of the Ministry of Devolution, asked for a systems audit or review at the National Youth Services as far back as mid-last year, 2014. And we sent a team of experts who conducted the reviews and prepared the report. So as we've been preparing our report, all these other issues arose in the process. So yesterday what we launched was the findings of our review, and the purpose of a systems review is to identify gaps, loopholes, weaknesses of systems of an institution.
Elsewhere, 8 counties from Kenya's North Rift region have launched an economic bloc to boost inter-county trade and ease business between the counties and the national government. The bloc is also set to eliminate the hiccups that have previously been witnessed in trade between the counties that produce the same commodities. Speaking during the launch of the bloc, Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandego said the counties now have a golden opportunity to cash in on tourism and other trade opportunities in the region, and urged both the local and international investors to focus on the opportunities in the region. The economic bloc will host the first investors conference in Eldoret next month.
What have come together is to ensure that, one, we have sufficient in terms of quantity. You know, you can be producing 2 liters of milk. Nobody will install a processor for people who are producing 2 liters. But if we combine all the milk in that region, probably it will be 300, 400, 500,000 liters a day. That will attract a processor.
So the North Rift counties have maize. They can sell to us maize. But we have meat, cows, and particularly goats, very sweet meat. So we can be able to sell that to them.
It's one of the most excellent arrangements ever done. And of course, as also representative of one of the states in South Sudan, we would like also to make this thing as a regional issue, so that our both communities have been are put in this program.
And on matters of Education Cabinet Secretary Professor Jacob Kemenyi says the ministry is proposing to come up with punitive measures to deter cases of examination malpractices and cheating. Kemenyi told the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Education and Research that the ministry will do a thorough audit of the ongoing Form 4 examinations that have been dodged by allegations of massive examination leakage during the marking exercise to detect any case of cheating.
Whether the situation is getting worse or not is a matter that we cannot interrupt individually. The whole process of auditing and examination process is towards the end, even after conducting the exam. Because sometimes, when you mark the exams, as was mentioned here, is when you realize, hey, there was cheating, and what type of cheating. The other thing is that we therefore will give you a comprehensive. This is key, but not individual as if you are. If police involved, I am not sure, I have no evidence. Madam Chair, we suspect, of course, this cheating is likely to take place more in the distribution center. And the distribution center are manned in an armory, yes. And those armories are manned by policemen. It's possible for them to do this. They are also up to be the proposal. Maybe the penalties or the deterrent measures, Madam Chair, are not as severe as they should. So we are going again to review that and ensure that indeed they are more deterrent than they are, so that again we are not accused of a business as usual approach.
Well, we now want to take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned. Back to Newsdesk. Just a reminder, Twitter handle is at KTN News. Let us know what is happening around you. Now I want to cross over to Uganda, where the election primaries for the ruling National Resistance Movement Party, NRM, were postponed to tomorrow following the bloody skirmishes on the first day of the polls. Police used tear gas to disperse party members who protested against the postponement in different parts of the country. KTN's Solomon Sarawanja reports from Kampala.
Chaotic scenes like these characterized most of the day in different constituencies as Uganda's ruling party, the National Resistance Movement, postponed their national primaries to Tuesday. Protests broke out in Sembabule district, located in central Uganda, as party supporters challenged the decision to have the election date postponed. Police used rubber bullets and tear gas to disperse the crowd, which left at least 2 people injured. According to the Party Electoral Commission chairperson Dr. Tango Doi, the postponement was due to the delays in dispatching the election equipment, including ballot papers.
delivering materials in 112 outer districts and 5 districts of Kampala is mayhem. You cannot do it within a shortfall.
The party electoral commission chairman also accused the top minister in Museveni's government for allegedly masterminding election malpractices.
We have every credible evidence that the Honorable Nantaba, the Minister of State for Lands, planned day in, day out to rig this election and to tamper with the ballot papers.
He also alleges an elaborate plan to steal the vote.
Some lady had printed a so-called ballot paper of NRM. And good enough, one of our NRM fraternity people from the diaspora, a lady, got wind of it when she was there and went to arrest them.
Early in the morning, while the electoral body was still putting its house in order, Kampala woke up to these scenes. Posters pinned up by a group of youth who identified themselves as the Red Tops. They are demanding electoral reforms before the
We now want to get into sports, and a Washington-based human rights group denounced Sheikh Salman's bid for FIFA president, saying that the football official was involved in human rights abuses following the wave of pro-democracy demonstration that swept the country in 2011. Moving on to other stories, Rafael Nadal starred defeat in the face twice to rally back to beat Lucas Russell of the Czech Republic 1-6, 7-5, 7-6 in the Swiss indoors first round. The 69th ranked Russell, who beat Nadal at Wimbledon in 2012, served for the match-leading 5-4 in the second set but lost 7 straight games. Nadal then trailed 3-0 in the divisive heartbreaker before clinching the victory. This will now face the winner of the match between Sergi and Grigor. Mystery deaths in Sierra Leone are spreading fear of Ebola. That is another story there. Let's now get back to that story where we had initially on sports. A Washington-based human rights group denounced Sheikh Salman's bid for FIFA president, saying that a Bahari football official was involved in human rights abuses following the wave of pro-democracy demonstrations that swept the country in 2011.
Kaiser Said Salman served as chairman of Bahrain Commission that identified athletes for punishment for taking part in the 2011 protests. The group tried unsuccessfully to include the charges in Michael Garcia's ethics report that examined the 2018 and 2022 World Cup bidding process. In 2013, Sheikh Salman was elected president of the Asian Football Confederation with the backing of FIFA president Sepp Blatter, and has previously denied the claims against him. The Asian Football Confederation AFC said in a statement on Sunday it had offered overwhelming support to Sheikh Salman, who had assured it that his campaign will be entirely self-financed. The Bahraini, closely allied to Kuwait Sheikh Ahmed Al Fayed Al Shaba, one of the most powerful men in the Olympic movement, conversed opinion from Asian associations last week.
He should not be permitted to run for the presidency of FIFA, primarily for his role in the crackdown against protesters and athletes in Bahrain in 2011. Sheikh Salman was complicit in aiding and abetting crimes against humanity against the players of the Bahrain national football team, as well as other sports staff and athletes, some of whom remain in jail or suspended from the game to this day.
Sheikh Salman will face another member of Arab royalty in the election, as Jordanian Prince Al bin Al Hussein has already submitted his nominations. On Saturday, South African former apartheid-era political prisoner turned businessman Tokyo Sakwale announced he will be standing in the election after winning backing from the South African football. Former Trinidad and Tobago midfielder David Naked says he had submitted his papers to FIFA along with former FIFA Deputy Secretary General Jerome Champagne and Platini. Zico, the former Brazilian World Cup player, has said he wants to stand, but it is not known if he has been able to receive the necessary support.
Sheikh Salman has repetitively denied these claims against him. You know, there is solid evidence that he aided these crimes against protesters that led to their torture in 2011, and I really think it does not speak to the ethics or meritocracy that FIFA was set up to be, to govern this world's love sport.
FIFA has been rocked by the U.S. Department of Justice decision on May 27 to induct 14 soccer officials and sports marketing executives in a corruption investigation. Swiss authorities are also investigating FIFA, while FIFA's ethics committee has handed out several bans.
We now want to wind up the first half of Newsdesk. For our viewers on KTN News, we continue right after the break. My name is Ian Ofula. Twitter handle is at KTN News. We appreciate your feedback. We'd also like to know what is happening around you. Stay tuned for more news after the break.